You know, there's this hidden mental trap that completely messes with how we see the world. It shapes everything: the companies we admire, the role models we look up to, even life or death decisions. It's a flaw in our thinking that makes us focus only on the winners and totally ignore the losers. And that can lead us to some seriously wrong conclusions. So let's unpack this, starting with an amazing story from history. Okay, picture this. It's the middle of World War II. Allied bombers are getting shot down left and right. The military has to figure out a way to make them stronger. But here's the catch. Armor is super heavy. You can't just cover the whole plane. You've got to be smart about it. So they start collecting data. They look at every single plane that makes it back to base, and they map out where all the bullet holes are, creating a diagram just like this one. All right, so take a good look. If you were in charge and people's lives were on the line, where would you add that precious armor? I mean, the obvious answer seems to be you reinforce the spots that are all shot up, right? The wings, the tail, the body, that's where the planes are getting hit. But that logical, obvious answer is completely and totally wrong. The right answer, the one that saved countless lives, came from a statistician who saw something that everyone else had missed. His brilliant insight about the missing bullet holes flipped the whole problem on its head.
That's right. The most critical places to add armor, or the parts of the plane that came back looking pristine: the engines, the cockpit, the spots that had no bullet holes at all. See, a statistician named Abraham Wald had this incredible aha moment. He realized that data from the returning planes wasn't showing their weaknesses, it was showing their strengths. Those bullet holes showed exactly where a plane could get hit and still make it home. The planes that got hit in the engines or the cockpit, those clean spots on the diagram, well, they never came back at all. Their story was the missing piece of the puzzle, lost in the wreckage. And that incredible story is the perfect illustration of a powerful mental glitch that affects all of us every single day. This tendency to only see the winners is called survivorship bias.
So what does that actually mean?
Well, put simply, it's our natural habit to focus on the people or things that survived some process. The successful entrepreneurs, the winning teams, the planes that returned, while we completely forget about the ones that failed because, well, they're invisible. And this gives us a totally skewed picture of reality, often making success look way easier than it really is.
Believe me, this little thinking error didn't just stay back in World War II. It is everywhere in our modern world, especially in the kinds of stories we tell each other about what it takes to be successful.
This quote from author David McCraney just nails it. Think about it. When we want advice on how to make it big, who do we listen to? The winners. The people who failed are silent. They're not writing best-selling books or giving TED Talks. So we only ever get one side of the story.
I mean, we all know the story of the college dropout who becomes a billionaire, right? Like a Mark Zuckerberg. That story gets held up as proof that you don't need a degree to change the world. But what we never, ever hear about are the thousands upon thousands of other college dropouts whose companies went belly up. They're the invisible majority. We're just seeing the one lucky survivor.
And hey, if you think that's just a feeling, the numbers back it up big time. Look at the music industry. We see the Beyoncés and the Taylor Swifts, but they represent just a tiny fraction, a little over 1% of all artists. Meanwhile, a staggering 91% are basically undiscovered. The massive, silent majority of people trying to make it get filtered out long before we ever hear a single note.
Okay, so this isn't just about feel-good stories and celebrity worship. This bias can actually sneak its way into cold, hard data and even scientific research, leading to some really weird and just plain wrong conclusions.
Okay, get ready for this one. It's the bizarre case of the falling cats. Back in 1987, a study found something incredible. Cats that fall from higher floors often have fewer injuries than cats falling from lower ones. The theory got pretty wild. Something about them reaching terminal velocity, relaxing, and landing like a furry parachute. But the real reason was pure survivorship bias. The study only counted the cats that were brought into the vet's office. All the poor cats that died on impact from those super high falls, they were never part of the data. And this happens all over the place. In finance, when they study company performance, they often just don't include the companies that went bankrupt. So, of course, returns look way better than they really are. With mutual funds, the ones that stink are quietly closed down or merged. So if you only look at the ones that are still around, their success rate looks amazing. It even messed up a study that claimed Oscar winners live longer, all because the statistics were being tripped up by this exact bias.
So just knowing that this bias is out there is a huge first step. But how do we actually fight back against it? Well, it all comes down to learning how to look for the evidence that isn't there.
I love this phrase from the writer Nassim Taleb. He calls all that missing data silent evidence. It's the stories of the startups that crashed and burned. It's the data from the bombers that didn't come home. That's the stuff we have to actively seek out if we want to get a true picture of how things really work.
So how do we do it? It's actually pretty simple. First, just get in the habit of noticing when you're only being shown the highlight reels of successes. Second, make a real effort to find the failures. Don't just look at the successful company, look for the graveyard of companies that tried and failed in the same industry. And third, always ask yourself that crucial question: what am I not seeing here? Who's missing from this data, and why?
So the next time you hear one of those amazing success stories or see a product with 5-star reviews, just for a second pause and think about those bombers. Ask yourself what data might be missing, because seeing the whole picture means you have to look for the bullet holes that aren't there. So I'll leave you with this. What silent evidence are you missing in your world right now?